Hello everyone and welcome back to Sew Aldo. In today's video, I am going to show you how I made this simple dress using some thrift finds fabrics and sewing notion. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I did was cut out the fabric. So this is a half circle skirt. I added about 2 inches at the back seam because I made this sewing pattern 10 years ago and I need to make a new one because I need to update my sewing patterns. So cut out the front and back bodices, basic sleeves, and that's it. So I have like 6 pieces altogether. Then I am going to overlock the edges because the fabric frays a lot. Also press the edges because when I serge it, the edges became wavy. So I fixed that by just simply pressing it, then putting clapper on top of it. For the lining, I am going to be using an old bed sheet that I don't use anymore, and I only have 4 pieces, so skirt, front, and 2 back bodices. After that, I am going to stay stitch the neckline, shoulders, and armholes, just so it doesn't stretch out. I actually almost forgot to do this step, but one of my followers reminded me to do it. So thank you. And here I am adding darts to the lining. In the center fold, I measure up 6 inches. And from there, I'm going to measure across half of the apex. Apex is the highest point of your bust. Going to measure the distance and just divide that in half. So mine was 3.5 inches. I measure the same at the waistline and then I form the dart legs and it's going to be 1 inch wide. Then I simply transfer that measurement on the other side of the bodice. Then I transfer the measurement on the shell fabric. After that, I'm just going to close the darts like this. I decided to add a detail on the front of the bodice. So I have a 1.5 inches strip of fabric and I'm going to stitch a lace on each side just to give it some extra detail because I thought the front was a little too plain for my liking. And plus, I get to use the sewing notions that I found. I attach the lace by simply using my overlocker and then I'm just going to flip it over just like this to top stitch it. And it's going to reveal a dainty little scallop edge that is super sweet and cute. And I'm going to top stitch this detail on the front. Then I will join the back bodice. As you can see here, I was kind of struggling because I don't know which side is which because they look the same. So I decided, okay, this is going to be the front. So I matched the right sides of the fabrics together and then I'm going to stitch it at the shoulders and side seams. I will repeat the same thing for the lining. And as you notice, there is no darts at the back, but the back is curved as you can see the bottom there. Now it's time to join the bodice and skirt at the waistline. By the way, all of my seam allowances are 1/2 inch. Now we have 2 dresses and it's time to merge them. So first I am going to match them right sides of the fabrics together at the neckline. So I haven't mentioned that I had been pressing the seams as I go. I really want to make a habit of doing that just because sometimes I get too lazy. I just want to finish my project, but it's actually crucial that I press because the end result was fantastic. Then I'm going to clip the seam allowance as close to the seam as possible, but not through it. The purpose of this, so when I turn the lining on the other side, it's going to sit inside the dress properly. It's going to release the tension along the curve. And then I am going to understitch it. So basically, I'm going to stitch the lining onto itself. Let's say about a quarter of an inch away from the seam. I also press the neckline so it is nice and flat. Then I am going to base stitch the armholes. That way it will be easier to set in the sleeves later on. To work on the zipper, as you can see, I mark all the seams. So it's just a matter of matching them up later on. I am using an invisible zipper, and if this is your first time working on an invisible zipper, it's actually very easy. I used to be intimidated by this process, but not anymore, because the more I do it, the more I get comfortable. Then I am going to place the zipper teeth along the seam allowance. So the zipper teeth is like facing towards the dress, as you can see here, and the zipper is facing down. I buy my zipper in bulk, but if you are buying a single zipper like in Joann's, there's actually an instruction, so you can just always refer to that. Once this side is done, you are going to flip the tape just like this and pin along the edge. So you are mirroring what you did on the other side. Because I mark all the seams, it's just a matter of matching them up. Then you are going to test it out by zipping it up. And if the tape is twisted, you just kind of untwist it and pin again. Then stitch along where you place the pins, and of course you're going to remove the pins as you go. And I am using an invisible zipper foot. Be sure that the zipper teeth is standing up. That will give you the best invisible zipper result. Then I am going to close the back seam. And this is what it should look like. And now we are ready to work on the lining. So I am going to pull it out. Then match the right sides of the fabrics. Be sure that all the seams are flat. So I am just going to pin along so it's going to sandwich the zipper tape. Because of the zipper end, it's going to be impossible, so you're just going to try your best to sew as close to the zipper end as possible. And I am going to repeat the same thing on the other side. If the seams doesn't line up, don't worry about it. It's inside of the dress, no one will see that. Then I am going to stitch along the edge and repeat the same thing on the other side. You can trim off the corners to get rid of the bulkiness, but I tend to skip that part because I ruined the back of the dress because I cut in too close. I'm just going to leave it alone for now. Then you are simply going to match the right sides of the fabric of the lining and then close the back seam. And this is what it should look like. Ooh, gorgeous. As you can see, there are no seams exposed. It is nice and smooth inside. It's going to be comfortable. Okay, let's work on the sleeves. I am going to stitch a gathering stitch right here so I can set in the sleeves. Then I am going to match the right sides of the fabric and stitch along the side seam or inseam. I place the sleeve inside of the dress. Right sides of the fabrics are facing. Then I am going to slightly gather the sleeve so I can ease it in the armhole. I'm focusing the gather on the shoulder. Now that the sleeves are in, it's time to finish the dress or finish the hemline. So I'm just going to let this drape 24 hours first because this is a circle skirt. After 24 hours, I am ready to hem the dress. So I'm just removing the excess. But hemming a circle skirt is actually very tricky. So I had to redo this part. I put it on the dress form and just kind of trim off the excess fabric to even it out. Then I serge the raw edges. Then fold it 1/2 inch to finish the hem. Don't be fooled, I had to rehem this dress 3 times. It keeps on shifting, and that made the dress a little shorter than I intended it to be. Now it's time to add the finishing touches, which are the buttons. I am simply going to hand stitch it, and the dress is completed. Let me know what you think about this dress, and if you find this helpful, don't forget to follow, likes, and share. I appreciate every single one of you, and I love you guys. I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye!